welcome to the Art and Business and Murals podcast. And I'm your host, Sarah Scully, and this is episode 100. That seems crazy to me. If you have listened to all 100 episodes, that's some insanely amazing feat. Make sure you let me know, because the idea that I've recorded 100 is just insane to me. Um, Although I didn't actually think this episode was ever going to get out. I had originally planned for this episode to come out about 2 weeks ago, but my life did not go to plan as I had expected. I've been unwell and in hospital for the past several weeks, and I've had to step completely out of my business in order to focus on healing. So first, I just want to say thank you for your patience, your messages, and for still being here when I do eventually show up, like today. Um, I'd like to say that this episode is a little bit different, but it's not. It's my usual, you know, personal story, oversharing, and then it's part reflection, and then part behind the scenes look at something I think a lot of creative business owners quietly question. What happens to your business when you stop? Now, before I get stuck into this episode, I just want to say that my brain still isn't working at a full capacity. So I have spent a lot of time writing a script for this episode. So if it sounds sometimes like I'm reading off a script, it's because I am. I wrote the script and now I am reading it, because I had to double check that what I was saying makes sense. And I'll explain why in a moment. So let's talk about why I disappeared. Um, I want to start by sharing briefly what happened. So about 4 weeks ago, I started feeling unwell, just off color, nothing really to visit the GP about, the doctor. And then I went downhill really quickly within 24 hours. I was at our local shopping center and I got lost. I couldn't find my way out. I couldn't find my car. I started getting really upset. I was really scared. I couldn't see properly. After a while, I got back to my car and I realized that I couldn't figure out how to work my phone. Like my brain just couldn't figure it out. I started slurring my words. Luckily, a friend of mine who's an emergency department doctor and his wife found me and they took me up to the local hospital. I didn't know my name. I didn't know my birth date. The right side of me wasn't working. As I mentioned, I couldn't see properly. I couldn't talk. So I could think of the words in my head, but I couldn't get the words out of my mouth. I didn't recognize my husband. I was very, very sick. I'm not going to go into that detail because no one likes to talk about that. I wasn't able to understand what anyone was saying. Um, and my temperature was really high and an insane headache. I was like that for about 48 hours. Um, they thought initially that it was a TIA, a mini stroke, but it turns out that I had viral meningitis, an infection in the body that went to my brain and caused extra fluid around my brain, which was pressing in on my brain, which was causing all that stuff to happen, which is really, really scary. After a week in hospital and then 3 weeks under the Help in Home Queensland Health Service, which, by the way, is an amazing service where the nurses come out to your house every day and they switch out an antiviral. So I've had a PICC line in my arm for 3 weeks and they switch out the antiviral every single day. So I've had a drip attached to me for a very, very long time. I'm finally on the mend and I'm finally starting to feel like myself. I haven't been able to work due to the PICC line and the extreme exhaustion I've been feeling. If I go out to the garden to water the garden, I then need like an hour nap afterwards. But this last week, I have felt a lot more like myself. I'm not back to 100% yet, hence the reason why I have this script that I'm reading off. And I do play a lot of, I do play this weird game called, is this perimenopause? Is it ADHD? Is it the antivirals or is it meningitis? When I do silly things like accidentally order 2 compost bins instead of one. Whoops. So I'm still doing weird little things like that. I knew I needed to pause everything in my life when this happened. No normal routine, no gym, no renos, no gardening, no parenting, no murals, no workshops, no painting, no coaching, no content. And I realized very quickly that I was able to step away in a way that didn't cause chaos in my business. And this is what I wanted to talk about today. Because this wasn't luck. The ability to be able to step back was not luck. This was not an accident. This was the result of building specific systems over time that allowed my business to keep moving forward while I focused on rest and recovery. So let's talk about the purpose of this episode. I know a lot of artists and creative business owners feel like if I stop, everything stops, or I can't take time off, or my income depends on me showing up constantly. And trust me, I used to feel like that too. And it was something that really bothered me here in the background. But over time, I've slowly built a business that is more stable, more supported, and more sustainable than that. So today I want to share the 8 key parts of my business that made it possible for me to step away for several weeks and still have things continue on in the background. My hope is that this episode gives you ideas for your own business and maybe a different way of thinking about what sustainability actually looks like for you. Financial buffer, 3 months worth of wages saved. Oh, I talk about this a lot because I think it's super important and that's why it's number one. So the first and most important piece is financial. And of course, this was the first thing that stressed us out. This was the first big conversation my husband and I had when we realized I wouldn't be able to work for a month. I had 3 months of wages saved in a high interest account with Bendigo Bank. I chose Bendigo Bank because they have a competitive savings interest rate and they invest back into their communities, particularly artists. Yeah, that's where I had an art show last year too at Bendigo Bank. So why would I not invest back into them when they invest into me and my community? So saving up 3 months of wages is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not like you're saving up for a holiday and woo, you get to go on a holiday then. But it is incredibly stabilizing. It means that when something unexpected happens, I'm not forced to make urgent business decisions from a place of stress, or in my case, a brain that was only working at about 50% capacity. I don't want to have to panic about income. I don't want to have to take work on that I really shouldn't be doing. I'm simply able to pause. And that is something I've worked towards intentionally over time. And as I'm sure you're sick of hearing me preach about it, your 3 months worth of wages saved up is so very important. Number two, passive income products. I have digital products and online workshops available on my website that can be purchased at any time. These are things that I've created once, but they continue to generate income in the background. They're not necessarily a set and forget completely, but they do not require my physical presence to sell. So this includes online workshops, digital downloads, creative business resources. This layer of income means my business is not entirely dependent on me showing up in real time. It's clear on my website how people can find these assets. It's clear how to purchase and use them. No one needs to email me or call me to use these products. The money just goes into my bank account and the buyer uses the product. Now, I'm not saying that these passive product sales would make up for my weekly wage. I'm not quite there yet, although I wish I was. But they do take some of the pressure off and they do provide some form of momentum. Number three is a strong client relationship base. Over time, I've built a client base of people who are kind, collaborative, and respectful. These are clients who trust me and I trust them. And when I needed to step away, these clients worked with me to reschedule their projects. There was understanding, there was patience, there was trust, and I don't take that lightly because that only exists when you've spent years showing up consistently and delivering on what you say you will. It was actually my mum who had to call some of my clients and put a pause on a few school workshops that I had booked for the week ahead. I still wasn't able to fully articulate what I wanted to say yet. So my vocabulary wasn't back and I wasn't making a huge amount of sense. So I needed help. I was confident that one of the schools would understand as I'd worked with them for over 6 years, every year for over 6 years. The other school I was a bit nervous about because they were brand new, and I was really worried that they'd think that I was a flake. But both schools have been incredibly understanding, which has been amazing. And one of them has rescheduled, which again, very helpful. Don't get me wrong, I have in the past worked with clients who have been rude, disrespectful, unkind, demanding. And it's by working with these clients that I can pick up on the red flags so that when people come to me now and I see any of those red flags, I pull out of that project because I don't need those types of clients in my life. And I totally understand. I can hear you from the other side saying, but I need projects. Like I need projects, I need the money. And I get that when you're, either low on money or the beginning of your career and you just say yes to all the projects. I get that. Sometimes you do have to work with crummy clients, but I promise you, if you consistently work well and deliver, you'll be able to start picking and choosing your own clients and you won't have to work with the dickheads. I promise. Sometimes you may get a dickhead slip in there. You may think they're nice and then all of a sudden they turn into dickhead. But all you can do is your best. So, number 4, trust built through consistency. Oh, consistency. One of the most important foundations in my business has been showing up over a long period of time, delivering work on time, communicating clearly, following through, being reliable, because trust is not built in one project. Now, this is something that I see lacking in quite a few artists is delivering on time, clear communication, following through, being reliable. These are really important areas. And if you can deliver on these, you'll be heads and shoulders above the other 100 artists in your community. This is built over time through repeated experiences where people can learn that they can rely on you. That trust is what allowed me space to step back when I needed to. I've since had to contact a number of clients and apologize for not getting back to them sooner or having to move their projects. And every client has been so supportive and understanding. I had one new client I'd done a site visit to the day before I got rushed into hospital. And in the site visit, at the meeting, I said to them, look, I'll get you a quote for this project and I'll send through my availability for workshops and paint days tomorrow. So that's what I said to them on the Tuesday. And then on the Wednesday, I was in hospital. The next thing I know, it's a week later and I am still in hospital and the poor client hasn't heard anything from me. And when I did finally reach out to apologize, she explained that she knew that I'd get back to her because I'd painted murals for other campuses of her business and they only had great things to say about me. So that shows that level of consistency has fed down the line or throughout that business, and she just trusted that I would show up eventually. And once I explained to her what had happened, she was like, oh, very good reason to not get back to me within the week. Oh. Number 5, systems for projects and delivery. Even though I was not actively working, ongoing projects still had structure. So they had clear timelines, clear communication, clear expectations. This meant that things did not rely on constant oversight from me in real time. When systems exist, the business does not fall apart when you step away from the front line. One example of how this looks in my business, I often pop out and see a client if they've asked me to quote on a mural. So I measure up the wall, I take photos, I collect a brief from the client. I like to take face-to-face briefs because their face tells me as much as what their mouth tells me. So after this meeting, I'll send them a quote. Once that's approved, I'll send them a production timeline for the project with when they can expect concepts. when they need to get changes back to me or their thoughts back to me, when the final design needs to be approved to give me enough time to order paint and pack and prep anything I need to paint the mural. So this ensures that if they don't hear from me for a few weeks, they know that I'm working on their design in the background and they know that I'm going to meet the deadline of when I said I was going to send those designs through. So this gives me space and time and grace. Number 6, realistic scheduling and capacity awareness. Now, this is something that I've had to learn the hard way over time, and I've been working on as a priority this year. Capacity awareness. I no longer overcommit myself. I do not schedule myself back to back with no spaces in between projects. I've learned to understand how much energy different types of works require. This has meant that when I did need to step back, there was not a massive backlog of unrealistic expectations sitting behind me. The reason this has become such a priority this year is because one of my goals was to prevent my annual Easter burnout. It's exhausting. So this year, I've been spacing my projects so that I never do more than 2 workshops in a week. And even then, I space them out. There's always a day in between them. I only ever do 1 mural in a week unless it's at the same premises, and then I'll get the 2 done or 3 done. But I'll only ever paint 1 premises per week. And even then, I have spare days at the end of the week to catch back up on work before the next week. I've also made sure that I have spent every day at least 20 to 30 minutes doing something that I love, not to do with work, not to do with the house, not to do with family, not to do with gym, because gym is something that I'd categorize as something I love, but it's also something that I have to do for my health, and it's a nice break from my responsibilities, but it's not what I would call relaxing and enjoyable. So some of the things that I schedule in every single day are either 20 to 30 minutes of gardening or having a walk along the beach. And by walk along the beach, that's not exercise, that's a relaxing wander along the beach. Lego, yes, I really love playing with Lego. Or reading, 20 to 30 minutes of reading, sometimes more. These are non-negotiables every single day, and that's given me the space to slow down a little bit. And number 7, support network and help. I am not running everything alone. I thought I was, and I liked it that way, but after this health scare, I realized I am certainly not alone. I have so much support in different areas of my business and life. From the business end, artists have been putting their hands up to assist, paid of course, I always pay assistance, on upcoming murals and workshops that I have. I'm a bit nervous about my energy levels, so I've got assistants coming to help me for the next fair few weeks on projects. Also, clients have been checking in. They've been really flexible around their projects, and I've even had a couple of clients come to visit me, which has been really sweet. I've realized after having 4 forced weeks off work, I'm so very fortunate to have the job that I do. The flexibility, the ability to pick and choose the clients that align with my values, to be selective about the projects I work on. I never thought I would be so excited to return to a job. I'm so thrilled. No creative business is truly sustainable in isolation. Support is part of the structure. And the last one, a business that is not only dependent on physical output. My business is not only murals. It's not just paintings. It's not just that physical output. It also includes things like teaching, digital products, coaching, workbooks, planners, graphic design. This matters because it reduces pressure on any one part of the business to carry everything. When one area pauses, others can continue in the background. It's certainly a lot easier to sit in my pajamas. Yes, I'm in my pajamas right now, and get some design work done or create some digital products when I've been told to rest. So this podcast very much is being recorded in my pajamas, in my bed. There's flexibility in these projects that I work on and when I work on them. So what this experience has taught me it's really reinforced something that's really important for me. A sustainable creative business is not built on constant output. It's built on systems, relationships, trust, financial structure, and realistic capability and capacity. And I want to be honest here, I'm still learning. This is not the perfect system, but it is much healthier one than I had years ago. And this experience has given me a lot more confidence in the security of my business. So this episode also marks the end of season 3. I know I usually finish it for winter, but this year I'm finishing it a little bit earlier so that I can take this time to fully recover, to rest, and to come back with fresh energy for the next season when it starts to warm up again. In between now and when season 4 of the podcast starts back, there's a bit going on. So let me fill you in. If you're based on the Sunshine Coast, there are a number of workshops coming up. On Sunday, the 31st of May, the Community Bank Sunshine Coast is sponsoring a free, yes, I said free, Business of Art workshop run by me. I'll put all the links to these events in the show notes so you can jump in and sign up. I think there are only a couple spots left in that workshop, so if you're keen, jump on now. Open Studio Sunshine Coast is also coming up. You can come and visit me in my new studio on Saturday the 25th of July and Sunday the 26th of July. I'm also running 2 workshops that week. Intro to Stencils workshop on Tuesday the 21st of July from 10 to 12 and Art and Business workshop on Thursday the 23rd of July from 10 to 12. Now, these are all in my new studio in Nambour, not in my old studio in Ninjari. Don't show up there. All the details for these workshops and open studios are on my website, and that's where you can sign up for those workshops as well. Also, don't forget the Gympie Open Studios are also running throughout July if you live in the Gympie region, and the Noosa Open Studios are running from the 14th to the 23rd of August. Don't forget to pop in and visit those artists too. I have a 2027 planner coming out soon, a printed planner. Oh gosh, I love planners. And a number of support and coaching packages for artists coming out, including an online order and planning package and a website design package. So make sure you keep your eyes on my website, or better yet, sign up to the newsletter so that you'll be the first to know about these new items. I also have a really exciting competition coming up with Community Bank Sunshine Coast that I promise you don't want to miss. So make sure that you follow along on Instagram and join the mailing list to make sure that you enter. More details on this are coming up in June. I also have a group show coming up in September over the school holidays in Brisbane, but I have a feeling that this podcast will be back before then. So I'll give you more details then. Thank you so much for being part of this journey so far. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting a conversation around art, business, and building a sustainable creative life. I'll see you for the next season. Feel free to get in touch via Instagram and have a wonderful winter.